This video actually comes from questions in the comment section of my last Vechain partnership video. The question was asked by several people, am I concerned with Vechain's partnership with the Chinese government? Well, I've got to tell you, this partnership between the Chinese government and Vechain is very interesting. In today's video, I will answer the following questions. Does the Chinese government own Vechain? What exactly is the partnership between the Chinese government and Vechain? And is the Chinese government's partnership with Vechain a risk to potential partners and investors in other parts of the world? Ignore the fake comments about amazing traders and scammers trying to get you over to WhatsApp. I do currently hold Vechain in my portfolio, and I am not a financial advisor, so before you invest, make sure to do your research and seek the help of a professional. You can get wrecked in crypto. There literally are people who have lost everything. So let me first start by explaining what was happening in China that ultimately led to the Chinese government's partnership with Vechain. China had plans to speed up the development of the major cities in the West. So back in 2014, the Central Government State Council mandated Guyana New Area as a national area of the People's Republic of China. Just to clear this up, I am calling it Guyana. It is G-U-I''AN. If I'm saying that wrong in my pronunciation, please correct me. But for the purposes of this video, when I do talk about the new area, I am talking about Guyana, and I certainly do hope that I'm pronouncing it right, as I do think it's important so that people know exactly what I'm talking about. So fast forward a couple years later, in what should have been China's 13th five-year plan to include the years between 2016 and 2020, they planned to spend a tremendous amount of resources on information technology. And that focus was going to be in the new area. And the areas of focus in terms of the information technology would be 5G wireless systems, IPv6, smart manufacturing, cloud-based computing, IoT, and blockchain technology. So right off the bat, if you're aware of what Vechain's use case is, which is supply chain traceability and tracking, you should be able to see where, of course, the smart manufacturing and blockchain technology aspect are a match made in heaven for Vechain. Just to simplify things, Guyana is like a test city where they'll pilot new various types of technology. If things go well, then they will roll the various types of technology out into the region. Think about the fact that China has this new area where they're wanting to heavily involve blockchain technology and information systems technology, period. And then whenever it works, they want to roll this out into the region and continue to let it spread out further. Just think about the sheer population of China and how big it is for not only Vechain, but for any project associated with this new area to be able to take hold and take a part in it. And if it works, think about how big of a massive deal this is for not only Vechain as a project, but any project involved in it. If they are able to pilot different things and they work well, and then it moves from there. So now that you understand about the new area and why Vechain is certainly a great fit for it because of what the initiative was, and that's parts of the initiative anyway, let's talk about how the plan and the partnership came about. So in China, they have these areas designated as new areas. These locations become highly influential cities in China. They're granted preferential policies, funding, and privileges directly by the State Council of the People's Republic of China. This new area, specifically Guyana, would be considered the national data center of the West. Not only were China's industry leaders investing billions in this new area, but also Microsoft and Apple had invested over $1 billion each in this new area as well, and IBM and others plan to build data centers in this area as well. So here we have some American-based companies also that are already implementing their plans in building and investing in these data centers in the new area, which is Guyana. Now, the way that it was explained by Chinese state-owned TV was as follows. Vechain is mandated to be the blockchain technology partner of the government of Guyana to plan, design, and implement processes. Vechain will work closely with the Administrative Examination and Approval Bureau of Guyana New Area to provide a blockchain-based information system to collect and analyze administrative data, offer privacy protection of data, and supply blockchain technology to reform business registration and cut red tape. It's many people's first instinct to think about the up and down relationship between America and China, and not only America and China, but also other places. But what you have to understand is money always talks. So while there's always been this back and forth that we always hear about on television about the U.S. and China, one thing that never has stopped is business. Big business has for many, many years been done between these two nations, and it will continue to. And that's not just the U.S. and China, that is globally, because money talks. So in those comments about the concerns there, I just think it's important to point out that where there may be some issues as far as on a governmental level between these two nations, when it comes to business, business is still rolling. The business ties between America and China will never stop. Simply an opinion of mine. But even if you don't want to go with my opinion, that should be evident in the fact that Apple, Microsoft, IBM, and there's many other companies are investing in this area and are going to have their own data centers there. That is because it's lucrative. So don't take my word for it. You can certainly read up and see more about what I'm talking about. So just to recap the partnership, first, it's about building a blockchain-based smart town on the Vechain Thor blockchain. Second, the key areas of focus are smart blockchain administration, which would help cut red tape, smart blockchain agriculture, and smart blockchain retail, and much more. Third, these cities would be the first of their kind and drive innovation. So as you know, it doesn't matter where you're from. Each nation wants to be the first to do everything, whether it was to land on the moon, whether it's to build the tallest skyscraper. Every nation wants to be the biggest and the best. This is no different. And it just so happens with China, they want to use Vechain to help them accomplish that mission of being the first to build these smart cities. Something else of note that I came across was with the help of Vechain, Guyana would become the first ever blockchain-powered fine wine/liquor exchange. And that's globally. Vechain had already done work with direct imported goods, that's DIG, in Shanghai in the wine distribution business. As I mentioned in my other Vechain partnership video, and you can look up above, hit the link if you would like to see that, or you can wait to the end, and in the up next section, you will see that link as well, and you can check that video out. One success of a certain partnership will continue to lead to another partnership, because every company is in the race to be the best, and you have to stay on the cutting edge. So it was that partnership in the wine industry in Shanghai that helped to lead to this overall partnership with the central Chinese government. Regardless of how you feel about U.S.-China relations, the answer about does the Chinese government own Vechain, the answer to that is no. Vechain Thor is a decentralized public network. So that in itself lets you know that no, the Chinese government does not own Vechain. Hopefully now you do have a greater understanding of aspects of the partnership between the Chinese central government and Vechain. I think it's important to point out that as a holder of Vechain myself, what this partnership is about is what I've heard people wanting going back several years. Now, while they may not have thought it would be through China, the thing to remember is what better way to approach mass adoption than a government implementing it into their own cities and making Vechain a part of the very process of how they do business. And that's business on a day-to-day basis. So it's interesting because in the crypto world, we always talk about mass adoption. Everything's about mass adoption. And the reason that is simply because if the whole world looked at the crypto scene the same way they did the stock market, imagine the massive amounts of liquidity that would pour into it. And we've seen that start to happen. We still have a long way to go. But what better way than the government themselves wanting to implement Vechain because they see what it can do for their cities? And this is going to help China be on the cutting edge of blockchain technology, which is another theme that we talk about all the time. How America is going to be left behind if they don't get on board with blockchain technology. And they are, but there are other places that were ahead of the curve. And I'm not talking about the aspect of buying, trading, and selling cryptos. I'm talking about the actual implementation. And China is doing that, certainly through this partnership. I'm not telling you that you should have zero concern just because the Chinese government doesn't own Vechain. I do feel like this project is legitimate. It makes absolute sense. But I think you should keep an eye out on China's relationship with Vechain and stay up to date on Vechain and what's going on, as you should do with any other cryptocurrency, in my opinion, so that you stay ahead of it. But as far as just the notion that because it's China that this could be dangerous for Vechain overall, I do not get that sense myself. If you do, I would love to know in the comments if you have more information to bring to the table. But I think this partnership makes absolute sense. And I will tell you, I think other companies, these massive corporations that are starting to get on board with Vechain, I think they've probably done their homework. I use that as somewhat of a guideline as well. So do I feel there's risk with the Chinese government being linked to Vechain? Actually, I feel there's more risk from the global events that started in 2020 because of the fact that companies have been forced to cut back or stick to more traditional approaches when it comes to product tracking, traceability. And although there's not much innovation there, they've had to cut back and save. And I think that's going to be more harmful to Vechain in the short term than their involvement in a partnership with the Chinese government. But I think that's a short-term issue. I think overall, as things start to get back to normal, I believe Vechain will pick right up. And they've continued to do well with these partnerships, but I believe more and more companies will hop on board as they continue to just be what is an all-out awesome blockchain, in my opinion. So look, I still believe Vechain is going to hit $1 during this bull run. I think it can maybe even surpass that, but I'm still comfortable with Vechain. At the time of this recording, Vechain was approaching 21 cents and a market cap of 13.4 billion, and it looks by looking at the charts that is going to surpass that in not too long. So the essence of it is this Chinese government partnership with Vechain comes down to the Chinese government recognizing that they need to be as efficient as possible, and they can use Vechain to help do that on the administrative side, the agricultural side, and they can include this into these smart cities where it can be a test hub, and if things work out well, they can then advance this into other parts of the region and let this spread throughout China. That is what this is about. I'm going to post a link to this article. It's a fantastic Medium article on all of these things that I spoke with you about today. So you can see that link in the description. Research it and research some other stuff. Like I said, things like this, I think those are great questions that were asked. I think it's important to stay up on top of it if you are going to hold this project or any other project for that fact. If you're feeling generous today, you can donate a like and a subscribe. It is absolutely free. Thanks to each and every one that is already subscribed to Perry Unlikely. Leave a comment for the algorithm. Hit the bell for notification. And I will see you next time.